So here we are, just taking apart the enclosure for the patch bay that we're going to be building, and we're just going to look at marking that up now. In a strange choice, it seems like I've gone for using a highlighter for this, and it seems like it because I have. But what we're doing is we're just joining up these corners to make an X, and then using my set square to kind of mark the centre line, which I just tried to show you there, but as we've sped up the video, it's gone rather quickly. And we're doing that again on the other side. I will say this is a little bit awkward to do and involves a little bit of more or lessing because actually none of the sides are straight on this box, but getting more or less is what's important.
So I think I said we'd be doing this all in stereo, and I kind of lied just a little bit, but hear me out. So you might recognize this type of connector. So this is kind of like the bigger version of your headphones, right? And yeah, that's stereo. You've got your left ear and your right ear, but really it's just two signals. So you've got the tip, the ring, which is the band in the center, and the stem. So it's actually what we call a TRS cable, and yeah, you can use that for stereo, but you could use that to transmit just two signals. I don't know what you'd want to send in parallel with your main thing, but actually for us in this case, this is control signals. So I made up this cable. Just a really long TRS cable to run from my amplifier at the back of the stage to my foot switch at the front. And my foot switch has two controls for channel, so like distortion and clean channel, and reverb, which is just an off-on switch. And those are the two signals we're sending. And these connectors, it would be good to look at basically how they work. So basically there are like different points of contact. So this bit here contacts the tip, this bit here contacts the ring, and you can't exactly see, but around, let's say, the base, if you can see there, that it's metal on the inside of the base. I'm sorry that the camera is focusing just on me. Let's see if that's any better. Nope. But basically that metal around the base will contact with the stem here. So all we've got to do is make sure that we're connecting the right parts to the other. So the enclosure that we've got, I just measured up, is 25 centimeters long, and we're going to take off 2.5 centimeters from each edge as we figure out the spacing. So if we take those 2.5 centimeters off, I've already marked those on. I'm just using a biro. I lost my permanent marker. But basically that leaves us with 20 centimeters left. And we've got 6 connectors to wire up. So let's already say that we've got 1 point down. So that leaves us with 5 connectors left. And 20 over 5 gives us 4. So we're just going to mark along 4 centimeters from each of those, from those outline points. So 4 centimeters, that leaves us with our our second point. 8 centimeters for our third. Don't be afraid to kind of, I say, gouge in slightly because, you know, we're going to drill this out anyway if you want to make this at home. 12 and then 16, that gives us our final point. So now along this side, if you can see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th one, I promise you, is there, even if it is a little bit light. We've got 6 marks. I'm just going to repeat that and do it on the other side. So something always breaks with this sort of thing, and for me today it was the clamp-on desk vise. The edge on my dining room table isn't square, it's a circular table that also has a curved edge, so it doesn't really have anywhere great to clip. But we drilled out the pilot holes, and what we're going to do next is drill out the holes of full size that we'll need to fit the connectors. And now we've got the holes drilled to size, which, you know what, they're not perfectly in line, but at the end of the day, it's still going to work. All we're going to do next is take this round file and just make sure we get rid of any burrs that are still inside this. Any sharp bits of metal are going to hurt, and then we put all of these in and we test it. I think the best way we're going to be able to test it is just to play some music through each one and make sure left and right are the right way around and that it's not particularly noisy. Let's get started. So I'm just going to give this a wipe down just to clean off some of the gunk from drilling, and yeah, then we'll screw the back plate back on and it should be good to go. So that's all done, and we've got a box with 6 inputs on one side and 6 on the other. A few things we've learnt from this is that most of the gunk isn't actually gunk, it's scratches from the table, so that's something we know for next time, is to be a little bit more careful cleaning up the aluminium shavings. And also, the easiest way I thought to test this was laptop in one side, headphones out the other. Is everything as I expect? I've got some nice test content from work, which is just channel orders, so a guy that will say left channel, right channel, and that's all we need for something in stereo, or in TRS as we've discussed. But what's the point? This is just a box that connects something to something, and there's nothing fancy. Why on earth would you want to do this? Well, for me, the reason why I wanted to use this is because I've got quite a few expensive pedals that I don't want to have to plug in and plug out of all the time, and it can get kind of messy having to reach into your board and plug in different things in different places, especially while I'm using an effects loop. And using this will mean that I can have the inputs and the outputs of all the effects loop stuff just on this patch here. So if anything breaks, I'm not breaking a £400 pedal, I'm breaking a £5 box and a couple of things that I could probably resolder. And I'll just tape this underneath the board, so that board can then just be a self-contained unit, and I'm not going to have to reach in and out and change weird things. So this should be really helpful, and I would give you a sound demo of what it sounds like, but honestly, it will sound exactly the same as before I had this in. So yeah, thanks for following along with this one.
Soldering.